What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some of the data points, what's really moving it, and go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So NIO is down 1.95%, 707 the low, 736 the high, and 25 million shares being traded. So of that 25 million, most of it is coming from algorithmic trading. And that's one very frustrating thing about NIO. With it being a Chinese EV, it gets influenced more common than not by American algorithmic trading. So it is unfortunate. And some of the fears that's kind of looming over the market today is American consumers. That's been more of an ongoing kind of fear. But one thing that's really causing everything to just overflow is Palantir's earnings. So that did occur Monday after hours. Although it was phenomenal, it did bring to light just its extremely high multiple. So what's happening is Wall Street's really hitting a lot of stocks that have a kind of out there or very abnormally high multiple. In NIO's case, with it not being profitable, we kind of have to look at the PS ratio, but it is at 1.62. For the longest time when I used to cover NIO, it was always the cheapest out there. Because of the recent price appreciation, it's now at 1.62. The cheapest is 𝗧 at 1.03. Still though, in comparison to what's out there, NIO is at a pretty good discount in my opinion. So still, needless to say, very frustrating to see NIO get influenced so easily by many things. Today, there hasn't been any news, no macro news, no SEC filings. We did have the weekly registration numbers that did come out. And so as a group, 10,100 plus, so 1,600 for Firefly, 4,000 for NIO, so week over week a little bit lower, and then Onvo 4,500. So I personally see this as good stuff, and as long as it can continue to hit at least double digits, then things should be okay. Of course, they did mention that in Q4 that they're going to do 50,000 each month. So technically they do need to ramp up a little bit more, but still, again, I think bigger picture, NIO has made massive growth, and more will come. So let me know your viewpoint on this in the comments below. I see some people on social media saying that NIO is down because of this, kind of how over the last 3 weeks it's been slowly going down. I completely disagree with that. I think just it is being influenced artificially, of course. So let me know your viewpoint on that, and if you think it's these weekly registration numbers, and maybe if people are just jumping to the conclusion that NIO won't hit their Q4 numbers that they mentioned. Do you think that's the reason? Like, what's your kind of general thoughts? Aside from that though, shorts. So shorts are returning a measly 929 shares. That is it. So they're basically not doing anything. 10.39% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 143.78 million shares overall being shorted. DTC still fairly high. That seems to have stabilized a little bit, but 1.83 days does signal that shorts are overextended. One thing I do bring up quite frequently is the fact that there is a lot of available shares to short. So right now there's more than 10 million. So in general, if shorts really did feel that this was the end all be all and that NIO was going to go down, they could easily double, triple, quadruple down, but they're not. So it's just one of those crappy days, and I think even though it does get suppressed, NIO, it might be a good optimum time to buy. I think based on a lot of the recent operational updates, there's a huge amount of demand out there. So let me know your viewpoint on that in the comments below. Looking at the options, 2.97 million in calls, 864,000 in puts, and then 45% of all the options being done are bearish in nature. It's not just NIO, that's kind of the common scenario with all the stocks. And I look at quite a few different stocks. I have a lot of different YouTube channels. All are the exact same kind of scenario. So there's just a lot of bearishness really sweeping over the broader market. Aside from that, from a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be kind of between that 750 and 8 by this upcoming Friday. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 7. So really hope it doesn't kind of drop to that $7 range again, because that was very frustrating to see NIO flirt back and forth almost every single day. As of right now, it is doing fairly well. So with it at 726, it is at least above this pivot point. So 718, that's going to be kind of the point to watch for and support level over the next couple of trading days that you need to see NIO hold. Aside from that, 785 followed by 826 as the next strong target / resistance points. And like I mentioned, we are seeing some institutions buying NIO, and so this is secondary market. These are on the dark pool, so some big ones, 1.53, 1.5 million. That was pretty much done straight away. And if we match that with the actual stock price and the chart, technically both of those were buys. So what is often enough used by the dark pool is hedge funds and shorts. Since shorts aren't doing really anything, it goes to show that hedge funds are also buying the dip. So you do whatever floats your boat. I'm not here to get you guys to buy nor sell, but technically if institutions are buying both on the dark pool and also secondary market, might be a good time to potentially dollar cost average. And I think overall, NIO, as frustrating of a stock it is, how just volatile it is, best thing to do is just dollar cost average. And as I mentioned even in my video yesterday, I did buy some, and that was the first time in quite some time that I did buy, because I liked kind of the numbers that was coming out, like hitting those like record numbers. That shows that they're on the path to hit their crazy high milestones. And if they can do that, then the stock price is going to appreciate even more. But again, I think dollar cost averaging is kind of the best way to go. And aside from that though, looking on the actual chart, it's still right now above that 10-day moving average, kind of flirting with it a little bit. But looking at the market position, this is something that's very abnormal, because most stocks, you see just all the willing buyers just dried up like crazy. They just went poof. Whereas with NIO, you still do see a good amount of willing buyers up until roughly around that 665. So if, let's say, things get very, very bad, NIO breaks kind of the technicals, breaks down a little bit more, then you could see a little bit more of a free fall. And keep in mind, if it does break below that 665, it would be down below both that 10 and also 50-day moving average. So if it breaks below that 50, then yeah, things will really consolidate quite a lot. Last time it was below that 50-day moving average was in July, way back when it was at that $3 range. So, and I guess it kind of bounced off of it in October, which this artificially suppressed day. But nonetheless, I feel higher highs will be coming. This is a good opportunity to potentially buy the dip. But like I said, there really hasn't been all that much in articles today at all. So it is just people digesting the weekly registration numbers, and as well just kind of Palantir's earnings. There hasn't been any new analyst ratings, so this is one thing that is very, very odd, is that analysts maybe just don't want to give any ratings based on just the monthly numbers. So I think their upcoming earnings, unannounced earnings, should be coming up in the next 2 weeks. So that should prompt a lot of new analyst ratings to come down the pipeline. So let me know your thoughts on NIO in the comments below. One thing I've really hit home and mentioned is days like this, when it is very abnormally frustrating and it just gets dragged down with the market. If you believe in NIO, look at buying calls. This is where typically is the best time to do it. So even realistically, if you feel, let's say 830, and I always put random numbers here, but if you feel 830 is on the table by, let's say, end of December, so December 19th, you can make about 15% on the common stock, or you can make 45% on options. So this is the time to do it when there's a lot of blood in the market. But no matter what, you guys do whatever floats your boat. If you do want, and let's say you struggle a little bit with options, pop over to Moomoo. They have all of this. It's very, very easy, user friendly. So if you do struggle with options, or you just don't have the time to kind of calculate all of that, just sign up for Moomoo. They do have some pretty good promos on the side note. So if you throw $100 at it, they give you, I think it's $50 back. But just access this and you can kind of play around, do whatever you want, whether you do like a short straddle, long call butterfly, a lot of different option strategies to take advantage of a lot of the volatility and bring in some additional money. So definitely sign up for that. And one final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Despite the blood in the market, there's a lot of ones that I did put out that are absolutely on point and bangers. Even yesterday, called a couple 20%ers. So definitely worthwhile to pop over to the Patreon, link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.